Burger Boy is my number one fan, stalker, and possibly serial killer. You never know with YouTubers. Burger Boy was not happy about my decision to only do one YouTube video per week. I'm only human, Burger Boy. I should have told Burger Boy, look, Burger Boy, I just need you to remember one thing. Hey, I came, I saw, I conquered. From record sales to sold out concerts. So motherfucker, if you want this encore, I need you to scream until your lungs get sore. Come on. I'm tired of being what you want me to be. Feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. I don't know what you're expecting of me. Put under the pressure of walking in your shoes. Caught in the undertow, I'm just caught in the undertow. And every step that I take is another mistake to you. And every second I waste is more than I can take. And life becomes so numb, I can't feel you there. I've become so tired, so much more aware. I'm becoming this. All I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. Become so numb. So can I get an encore? Do you want more? Does anyone understand what the past year or two of isolation, criticism, amplified by COVID? Does anyone understand what all this has done to me psychologically? And physically, for that matter. I mean, basically, this cruel world during the most confusing mental health crisis of all time, and I have a history of severe depression. Basically, the world has thrown every single situation which is not in line with mental health best practices right at me. And then we see all these posts and stories about men having emotional breakdowns because they're expected to be perfect and glamorous and always happy. That's what I've been doing. That's what an influencer is. That's what I signed up for. I don't have upbringing with music. I didn't get serious about music until I was 23 or 24, and I didn't even touch any instruments aside from a few piano lessons as a kid, and I messed around with guitar in college. I have no performing history. And to sustain the level that you see in some of my YouTube videos and the energy, completely alone, with no support system at first, going on and off medications, including Adderall, cold turkey, which I don't recommend. Does anyone, I repeat, does anyone understand what has happened inside of me that I'm not allowed to express? Hashtag in the stigma. This is exactly why no one talks about mental health or does anything about it. Because in order to fix things, like most fields, in order to get anything done, it takes sacrificing a lot. In my case, I had at least one very dark, I've never planned or really in detail thought about how I might kill myself, but everyone has thoughts, and that period of my life was the closest I've had to actually wanting to put together a plan to end my life. And then I was happy. I had a job that was, it was comfortable, and I knew it. There was that turning point and that time where we all know we've got to make a big choice. Are we going to do it? Are we not going to do it? Because we can't stay in the middle anymore. And I drug it out as long as I could. And then I was like, fuck, I'm going back to the place I said I would never go back to. And I went back there, which is basically a situation where I don't have a good escape. I'm going to have to face all the things I don't like about myself, which everyone has them. I'm more familiar with mine because I reflect a lot. And ultimately, again, I knew I would have to relive similar experiences that caused my mental health to go to that very bad place when I was younger. And I did all those things. And that's where I think we all have to fight our demons eventually. In some ways it's good because I fought mine at age 25 and 26. But God damn it, do not text me starting shit. Friends, I don't care if you're a close friend. Girls, please, it's cool. Don't waste my time. COVID is weird, the virtual dating world is confusing. Guys are creepy, I get it. I don't have time for games, don't test me. We can even be friends. I'll hook you up with some of my friends if I get into acting. If you don't like me and I like you, totally fine. Here's a list of some of my friends. I'll just respect you for not stressing me out if we date, or if we don't date, just don't waste my time. I smile, I sing, I dance, and no one gives a fuck about anything except for the result. But I have a small library full of books and ideas and my own notes and my own trial and errors of what warm up. I approach it like sports. It is a sport to me. What do I need to do to put myself in a mind state to be creative, to perform above my current ability? But to do that consistently hurts. And no one cares about how. I could be doing fucking crazy hallucinogens, and I could hold it together for one episode if I needed to. I've never done hallucinogens. But no one would care. They'd be like, hey, that's a funny video. We like him. Subscribe. But then if once I finish that video, I collapse, which I have done, smile, do great, and then I'll watch the video later. It's a very good video. And after the video, I hit end. I just fall on the ground because I'm tired. I haven't slept. humans are social creatures, and I've been isolated more than most during COVID. No one would give a fuck as long as they got a few good laughs from my video. If I'm dead on the floor after, they can still replay the video, but they can't revive me. That's fine. That's why I want to get off YouTube. The world is desensitized enough, even in person now. And a lot of my social media, aside from the dramatic stuff to get attention, I mean, that's what the future is. That influencer marketing, I get more opportunities for money if more people interact with, watch my content, like my posts, comment on my posts. That's where some of the things people think I'm serious, and they'll put a long thought out comment, and sometimes I'm serious, but usually not. And they're like, this is what we would do in this situation. I'm like, that's cool, man. Like, I just need you to share it. I don't want to hear what you had to say. Okay. I sang a song. I talked. And I explained that I'm hurting. I've been hurting, but I smile. I did all the things. Yeah, that was the one. I've done all the things that are not good for mental health, especially men today, and I'm still at least kind of hanging in there. And no one has even given me credit. Some friends and some girls just are like, oh well, he looks fine. He looks calm. He looks in good shape while he says and does all these things, so he must be crazy, because to be that creative and out there, there's something wrong with him, because he's still like his demeanor is not matching his craziness. And it's like, but again, you don't see what happens when I turn off the fucking camera. And I think if you did, you would probably, most people, not just girls or friends my age, but everyone, even their parents that are like, Dayton said fuck, and Dayton is so crazy and out there. Like, oh, well, Dayton lost a close friend to suicide. And it's not like I need sympathy for it, because it wasn't my family member or anything, but he was a good friend. And I have a lot of times where I'm just like, fuck life. But to actually, like, I won't get into that. I have visions, and everyone kind of speculates when you don't know the situation, but like, there were temporary nightmares, like to see my friend that I grew up, well, I didn't grow up with, I played sports with him in high school, and we were friends in high school, but to sit there and just think of, when someone commits suicide and you don't know all the details, it's like, was there a struggle? Was it an immediate death to where it wasn't painful? There's so many things, and you just, and so when I'm animated, or when a girl or her parent is like, that's a red flag. Did you see him scream or yell or cuss? Well, maybe you would too. So go be with people, or be with a husband who is not going to fight for you. And going back to the dating scenario, I'm tired. I don't give a fuck right now. And I'm sober too, by the way, completely sober. So back to girls, and not all girls are like this, but some are. I see a lot of red flags all over the place with my content. No criminal record, never been abusive physically. And as far as I know, no girls have been offended directly by me being verbally abusive. So if I have been, I have no evidence to know, which is important, because if someone is causing problems and no one tells him or her specifically what behavior to correct, then it's your fault. But girls and guys want someone who is going to stand up for you, who is not going to bow down. Or if a friend is like, hey, was she good in bed? Or man, she's got a nice ass. There are a lot of guys that, just to make their friend happy, or so that their friend still respects the guy. They'll be like, oh yeah, and then they'll just totally talk about you like a piece of meat. Look at my content. I have no friends, really, so there's not really a problem. But someone like me, at least you know what you're gonna get. You don't have to worry about someone talking behind your back or lying, saying I feel great or I'm in a good mental state, and then I hit you or do drugs to cope. And that's what amazes me about society, about dating during COVID and all the virtual stuff, about mental health is one thing I've learned through the last year, researching mental health, watching other people talk about mental health, and just the crisis around mental health in general. Something that just shocked me because I knew it was true, but it woke me up is the ability of the human animal to not be logical. We are so deathly afraid of something different. We are hardwired to be that way. Because in caveman days, you know, if we don't fit into a tribe or our group, you know, we don't get food or shelter. You know, before we had GPS and technology and all that, being different or being associated with someone who was an outcast could mean death. So that's why we were programmed to not do that. But this is a new world, and just because we're hardwired to be that way does not mean it is good, efficient, or the best for our long-term happiness and opportunities. Because most people who are different in society today probably have something figured out, because society is fucked. That will be my message if I become an entertainer. I want to be a chess player, which unfortunately, unless you're a top chess athlete, you don't really have the influence. But if I end up in acting, music, whatever, and I have a big platform, that will be my message. Is the risk of giving someone a chance is very small. I mean, the percentage of people, men especially, who are actually capable of being monsters is small. I am capable of being insane. This is not comfortable. I would be a very, very good psychopath or sociopath. I did not have an experience to tip my personality down a path that dark. But psychopaths and sociopaths are very talented people, which society needs to remember when we're dealing with the mental health stuff is it's not like they're dumb or lack ability. And anyone who meets the description of a psychopath, like Michael Phelps is a psychopath, but he doesn't kill people, he swims real fast. But anyway, it's like life is not a horror movie. Life is not social media. This is real life. And all the things that, you know, some of those mass murdering sprees and raping sprees back in like the early 1900s when there weren't all the monitoring and technology and surveillance, like that doesn't happen anymore because there are so many ways to get caught. Like if a guy wants to go on a murdering or raping spree, he's going to get caught the first time now. So that's a good thing because we know. And we don't have to worry about someone being a complete wild card. But that's why my point, if I become a big influencer with a big platform, will be got to give people chances. The percentage of men in society who are actually capable of being dangerous is small-ish. And of that smallish, because some people just don't have the demeanor, genetic makeup to actually be vicious. Even if they're raped, or like in a guy's case, if they're beaten, bullied, some guys just don't have that genetic makeup to flip and be monsters. I do. But I had good parents, so I'm not. Um, so unless a guy meets those two criteria, one, the small percentage who has the ability, and two, a bad experience, they're not going to be monsters. And the bad experience probably has to come at a young age to make them ruthless and terrible and violent. Um, so there are going to be so many more temptations going forward with all the virtual stuff and the lockdowns and other shit that the human mind hasn't even thought of yet that's going to happen as a result of COVID. And it's going to make us want to not give people chances and buy into bullshit and misinformation and lies about that person. But one, usually anyone who's getting lied about or criticized is really a good person, because no one would criticize a dumb motherfucker. They're jealous. And two, I mean, I know a few girls and former friends that wanted to wait and see if I made it big before giving me a chance or associating with me or accepting my LinkedIn connections. If and when I do make it big, there's a 0% chance. That's why I'm so adamant about connecting with people, even if I don't really know him or her. I friend request, I try to message now, because if they don't give me a chance now, then they're not going to get a chance later. And that's where the risk of giving someone a chance is I mean, you almost never have anything to lose. But the risk of not giving someone a chance, or is you regret that decision for the rest of your life. That's why Ed Sheeran says, "Come over and start up a conversation with just me, girl, trust me, I'll give it a chance." So I put my hands up, put in the man on the jukebox, and then we start to dance. And now I'm singing like, "Oh, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. Hey, I may be crazy, don't mind me." Say, boy, I fucking lost my mind, guys. But I do mean that. I do mean that. And not just in dating. I mean, COVID dating has been weird for everyone who is single, and it makes me just want to die single, because it's fucking maddening. Because guys go through it too. I mean, like, I don't have to. I'm 6'2" and a little over 200 pounds, so like a girl's probably not gonna rape me, but it's possible. I mean, I gotta worry about getting drugged, I guess, if I go out. But I do have to worry about like crazy stuff, like. I don't like clinginess, and I'm a bit. I prioritize personality a lot more than most guys. I've said that. Conversation. I'm a big conversationalist. I would seriously date a girl who was a 5 hot, but just an excellent listener and conversationalist, before I dated a 10 who is not really, and not like just dating. Like, if I had to do a one night stand, and my choices were a smoking hot girl and just a okay looking girl who is really interesting. One night stand, even, really. I cannot do clinginess, and I really can't do boring conversation. It drives me fucking nuts. And then sometimes, like, the hotter the girl is, it just amplifies my frustration if she's a boring conversationalist. Because if there's a semi-unattractive girl, and we can't control how we look. That's one of the things where I don't kiss girls' asses, or anyone's ass, because we were just born. Like, if you were born hot, cool. You did nothing to earn that. But it is frustrating, because, I mean, everyone would prefer to have sex with someone we're attracted to. So, but it's maddening, because if a girl is like a 10 hot, and she's a miserable person, bad conversationalist, boring personality, only talks about herself, like, it's really hard, because you're like, man, I wanted to at least have sex with you, but I can't now because I don't like you, and I'm not even going to give you. Some of it's a pride thing. Like I'm just like, if you're boring and you think you're hot shit, even if you are, like, I just have too much pride. I'm not going to kiss your ass just to get laid. I'm not going to do it. I'd rather be lonely. You're not going to get satisfaction out of me. But if a girl is not attractive and not interesting, or not cool, or not a good conversationalist, then that's fine, because like the physical, like animalistic urge to fuck your brains out is not existent in me anymore. So that's fine. But there's always that dilemma, and all guys go through it, and girls are like, Dayton is saying this shit, and some of the girls knew when I was younger, like, Dayton changed, and Dayton should not be saying these things. Like, all guys think it, ladies. All guys, all animals think it. Like, I don't think I could do polyamory. Polyamory is basically like not an open relationship, but my understanding of polyamorous relationships is you have one main partner that you're seeing, and then you both agree to have sex with other people and disclose it. That way it's not like risking STDs as much and stuff. But humans are designed to be polyamorous. Nothing about us is supposed to have sex with only one person. And I've thought about, like, because it would be easier, unfortunately, a lot of the reasons most guys don't pursue polyamory is because we just, like only a small portion of men and women get most of the sexual opportunities. But if I end up in acting or something and there were chances to be sleeping with a variety of beautiful women, that's going to be more tempting. But I don't think I could do it, because I just like intimacy. I like getting to know someone, and jealousy is a big risk there. But every girl and guy, whether they're married, single, going through a divorce, whatever, whichever gender we're attracted to, I happen to be attracted to women, we are always thinking, what would it be like for that attractive person to fuck my brains out right now? Because we're animals. We give ourselves too much credit because we want to feel special. And that's where I think I stand a much better chance of actually having a sustainable marriage and being with a girl forever when the divorce rate is so high, for that reason. I think a lot of the issues in dating today, man, I have talked 27 minutes. I gotta wrap this up. But this is important. A lot of the issues that cause divorce, and a lot of divorces happen like that. And I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and he said, to quote Chris Rock, there's a little over 50% of married couples that get divorced. But think of all the miserable ones who just don't have the courage or had kids, so they don't want to end it. Like then you think of a better stat would be, what percentage of married people are actually happy? Because 50% are so miserable they get divorced and go through all the financial implications and all the shipwreck and mental health repercussions on their kids, okay? But then there are a lot who are either good people or they're just scared to try to find someone else, and they just suck it up, but they hate their lives forever. So I would say like maybe 20% of marriages stay together and they're happy. And this is the reason. Is each partner is like, well, why am I not everything you want, and why would you look at that other girl when I'm right here? Well, because you're old and you're not as hot as you were when you were 20, or social status has changed, because again, we're animals. We want what we can't have. The high school quarterback dating the head cheerleader is cool until she stays hot and he becomes a loser, or something else happens to throw off the social dynamics, because now you have better options. And people try to act like that's not real, or we're in love, or she's the one. No, that's just the way it is. And people's inability to accept reality catches up to them, and eventually you're gonna lose your mind. But in my case, and I think I'll end up being monogamous with one girl. Hopefully, I'll date around because I was in an exclusive relationship for like 4 years before COVID, so I didn't really have a lot of like different girls I was dating when a lot of my friends were dating around that are married now. But once I do find a girl I like, hopefully by like age 35 or so, I'd like to be married, or at least in a long term, like forever relationship. Um, but but if like I see a really good looking guy walking by, like if Zac Efron is walking by and me and my wife or long term girlfriend are there and she looks at him, I'll be like, I know you're thinking about Zac Efron, about to fuck your brains out, and you're probably gonna masturbate to it later. That was too far. Sorry. Girls don't masturbate, right? And if I get into acting, I'll always be around good-looking guys. So if my wife or girlfriend comes to watch or support, I'll be like, look, I know that biologically she is designed to be thinking about these 3 different friends of mine just fucking her brains out. And that's where most guys get jealous, and it turns into passive-aggressive and conflict and eventually divorce. I'm just like, and it's not her fault, because if she has hot friends, then that thought is going to cross my mind. That's why I support polyamory, though I don't think I could do it personally. Humans are too weak. We're too stubborn to be open to reality. But that's kind of gets into short-term wins and quick happiness, instant gratification, versus long-term sacrifice for our goals. And a lot of stupid people are happy, especially in the short term. But then you have stories like the high school nerd who no one wanted and sat by himself at lunch, and then all the girls, they want the quarterback and the athletes and stuff. Yeah, well then that nerd is 30 years old and you're divorced. And now everyone wants him. Well, part of the process of becoming independent, which is very attractive for men too, is there's an element of pain required to mold you, to make you competitive, to make you comfortable on your own and know yourself. And society has completely devalued the significance of being comfortable alone. And I struggled with that when I was younger, especially. And being an athlete, I always had friends. I didn't really have to work to find who I was or find my social group, because I was good at sports, so I just had it. And I struggled with that in my early and mid-20s, which I'm in my mid-20s now, still. But I had to learn kind of that it's okay to be alone and just not give a lot of fucks. And those are the only relationships that really work out, because when you get involved with someone who is either younger or just not as sure of themselves or who they are, or at least what they're good at, what we feel our purpose and passions are, you basically should just have casual sex if you're going to have anything, because but then like people get married at a young age because they want to be in pictures and shit, and then they end up divorced. Well, yeah, because you're not comfortable on your own and you're not willing to sacrifice. And then you're going to wish you would have dated the nerd. Okay. Oh, man, I still got some shit to say. If you're still listening to this one, I hope you enjoyed the show, because I've had some good ideas. Also, and again, I've said, I think if I have any mental health diagnosis, I would lean towards being on the autism spectrum. I have also been diagnosed with type 2 bipolar and been on bipolar medication for most of my adult life. During COVID, I analyzed that I don't think I have bipolar disorder, mainly like the musical ability, the visual skill, memorization, that's more traits of autism, and noise sensitivity. And also some of my symptoms were more evident at a younger age when I reflect back, and bipolar tends to express itself later than autism. That being said, even if I do have bipolar, or if you have bipolar, it's important that family and friends remember, like, that is a human being who likely has a disease. Mental health, it's a disease. It's just like any other injury or disease. But I've had friends now that I've been more open about my mental health. One of my good friends from high school's mom was talking about, are you sure? Like, you say you're feeling okay, you say these things are happening. Are they actually? Or are you? I'm like, that's where you gotta be logical. I don't have schizophrenia. So the only way I'd be hallucinating is if I'm doing drugs. I was not on drugs. I also journal a lot. So like with Walmart, I said, well, there's a car that was sitting outside my house, and when I went to Nova's daycare, I noticed another car that appeared to be watching me. And I didn't say like for sure. I said that's what it seemed like. And I said, well, but when you write it down, like, it sounds crazy, but I got lucky with leave of absence that proves some bad things that could give Walmart bad publicity, which is abusing foreign work visas at the expense of the American worker. So yeah, for a lawsuit purpose, they would definitely hire, indirectly or directly, people to take pictures of me to make sure that if I slip up, they have that to use against me, or to void my LOA in some way. I mean, there's a lot of variables where companies definitely do that to people far in far less significant situations and smaller companies than Walmart. So that's not a hallucination. And another one of my mom's friends has a sister with bipolar disorder, and she did some things. Of course, I won't mention names, but she did some things running around with guys who she didn't really know, making an impulsive decision with spending and stuff. And that's where I got very frustrated with my mom earlier, because I had money saved up from the Walmart leave of absence. I don't have any expenses right now aside from myself and my dog. So when I wrote it down, I'm just like, logically, like, this is a good time to take risks because the world is so uncertain and other variables. And I'm just like, do it now. This is your last really good chance to take big risks and hopefully be in a good position. So I wrote down, I'm like, I don't care what she did. If she went off her medication, even if I have bipolar disorder, I'm not her. It's a different scenario. She's had different experiences, read different books. And so that's not relevant. And it just got to the point where I had so many of those experiences during COVID that it really motivated me to really put more into the YouTube channel instead of half-assing it or doing a part-time job at first. Because I just really it instilled in me why I started the YouTube channel, which is to break that stigma. Not only the mental health stigma, but more specifically, like, every person is unique, and some people thrive with mental health diseases in the right circumstances. Also, think of all of history that humans have been on the earth. It's not like autism or dyslexia is new. It's a genetic challenge in the brain, and we have not had medication but for the most recent history. So people lived fine with mental health diseases for a long time before any medication came out. Part of it was they didn't know, honestly. Part of it is if one is not diagnosed with a mental health disorder, that is even a really painful one. I mean, it's not good, but stupidity is okay sometimes, because if someone has bipolar disorder but they don't know what bipolar disorder is, and their whole life that person is told you're strong, you're stable, you're competent, those symptoms might still be there if they do genetically have bipolar disorder, but they're going to be so diminished because the mind is strong, and if you tell someone they're fine, then it has a big effect in them actually performing fine in society and being functional. But another example, I met a girl at St. Louis, and she was very pretty, and one of her close family members had bipolar disorder and really struggled, and it affected her emotionally, and I liked her. She was very nice and well-read in mental health, and we both shared the loss of a close person to suicide, and that's where some of the biggest mental health advocates make the human error of bucketing every person who discusses mental health with their bad experience. And that's where it probably wouldn't work out now, like, because her concern was the finances, and I told her about my YouTube channel, and she's like, honestly, she was straight up with me, which I respected, but it was like, I want to take someone to my family who can support me. And I made the argument, which I still believe in, which is, well, a guy who can support you could lose his job, and then what does he have? And I told her, at least I have these smaller payments now, not enough to support you and me at all, but I can always do more influencer advertising, and I can always get a job if this doesn't work out. So to me, it was a safer bet because I'm not dependent on things that could go away, but she didn't see it that way. And then it gets to, she's a mental health advocate, but I felt I was, me discussing my mental health actually hurt my chances, even though she admired my decision to speak openly about my mental health. And that just gets to the point where the only thing I can do if someone's like, you did this or that behavior is weird, is, well, one, did you give me a chance to explain it? Oh, Dayton just friend requested me, or he said something in a video that was angry and it made me scared of him. Well, I mean, one, if we have a mutual friend, ask why. Why did I do that? What experience led me to act that way? Usually I can tell you specifically. But most people are so comfortable with just going through their own daily routines that they don't want to do that. But you got to give people chances. And that's where it gets to now. Where I'm at is, well, Dayton, you did this. Are you sure you don't need help, or you don't need to revisit your medication? And it's just like, I'm not you. I'm not the experience that made you see mental health that way. Just because you know someone or were associated with someone who has bipolar disorder, that doesn't mean anything. That's how people are, and that's what some of this virtual stuff has done. It's like, it's so much more simple to bucket people, or I heard this, so let's look for any piece of information that matches up with what I heard, instead of actually listening to the person and why, from that person's perspective, they're behaving the way they do. And then you can actually make an informed decision and not have regrets when you realize in some cases you may have been wrong to have just made assumptions because they were convenient. There's my rant.